Hello and welcome to an episode of FinTech Focus TV with me, Toby. We are in New York City today in a Fix America's trading conference, and I am talking to one of the stars of the show, Brad from Symphony. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Listen, great to have you on the show. Someone I've been chasing for a long time to get on it, and here he is
Wow.
now. And it's an absolute pleasure and privilege. You're shortly, about in an hour's time, you're going to be up on the stage there, closing things off with a really fascinating subject. So you're going to be talking about the upcoming election. I think we're 3 weeks out now from the election. There's a lot riding on this across the whole economy, the macro economy, not just of America, but I think across the world as well. I have the great pleasure of introducing you guys later on to it. And I've been to a number of different things at the end of last year, just before the UK elections, and we're saying, well, what's going to happen? What's the impact on the markets? I know this is something you're interested in as a markets guy. You have some opinions on it at the same sort of stage. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be talking about. In fact, before we even go into that, tell us a little bit about Symphony. I know most people will have heard on it, but there's going to be a few people that haven't heard the story, and it's a pretty cool story, if I may say so myself. It continues apace. Tell us a little about Symphony first and foremost.
Yeah, so we're 10 years in now as a company, Symphony, and that includes Cloud9, which was started about the same time. We merged with Cloud9 in 21.
Yep.
We're a messaging, voice, analytics platform that is encrypted, distributed in the cloud. It sounds quite future, but we've been 10 years at it. It's just really starting to take hold, I think. I think the move to work from home, move to AI, move to automation, move to your mobile phone, all of those things are tailwinds for us.
Yeah.
For the industry struggles, but it's an exciting time, and our velocity is really starting to increase in a meaningful way.
And you kept on embracing that technology, as you say, as you know, I remember we were just talking beforehand about 18 months ago at Symphony Innovate in the UK, there was a lot of talk there about how AI was changing it all. That's accelerated at pace, and some really cool stuff that you guys are doing, I think, within...
No, and I think one of the big things we launched then was our embeddability, right? Embedding Symphony in other applications. And if you think of the idea of AI automations, a lot of that's going to happen in the things you use, not some extra apps. So our embedded came first, and now we're really ready to deliver these AI outcomes, but in people's workflow in small incremental ways. So it's going to be an iterative, small process, but a year and a half ago we sort of came out with that, and now we're right in the middle of that AI play.
The acceleration was incredible as well, isn't it? Just for sort of it. But let's talk a little bit about this conversation you're having. You're having the fireside chat with Katie later on. It's a subject which really everyone is talking about right now. Give us your hot takes.
Well, if everybody's talking about it, you should probably look past it. That's sort of and maybe the take will be, it's an interesting election. It's going to be very hot going in. It'll be volatile coming out, and that could last for 5 seconds, and then we'll forget about it.
Yeah.
So the theme of today is going to be that election, but then into the bigger macro. If you look back 40 years and look ahead 10, what's really going on? And I'm going to try to level set that way. The election's interesting, but probably not that big a deal, although it's a big moment on the way to bigger deals.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to try to frame it that way. We care about it at Symphony. We're in the global markets business. Our clients are global. We're in the Middle East. We're in Singapore. We're in all parts of the world, Europe, US, South America, Canada. So we have no choice but to care.
Yeah, of course.
We're in the markets financing ourselves at times. That's a thing. And if you want to go and automate the equity IPO market, and there's not a lot of equity IPOs for years, maybe you shouldn't be targeting that as a challenge. And maybe T+1 settlements and things like that are real time now hitting. And so we're very active in that conversation. But I think, the bridge from an election to T+1 settlements, I see those as very connected.
Yeah.
Because the reality is the SEC drove a mandate, and that was determined by the regulator who was on the more democratic side for the last 4 years or 12 of the last 16.
Yeah.
And that's how that mandate came about to some degree.
And we're going to see, whichever way it does go, and you're quite right, look, there's an election there which is a sort of like a big event, there's a lot of fanfare around it. You see stuff there that's going to delight one side of the country, irritate the other side of the country, whichever way it goes. There's a lot of volatility, we used the word volatility before. All over the world we're seeing, for lots of different reasons, plenty of volatility around it. I'm a natural optimist by trade, and I think there's a lot of things there where you can see opportunity within everything. We go in cycles, I think, economically at various different stages. It's been a tough period, probably prolonged. We obviously had a little boost after COVID that went through things, and then some pretty difficult stages across tech in particular and financial technology and markets at various different stages. But I think having stable governments in two of the biggest countries in the in the world, no matter how, you can argue, of course, how stable they are. If right decisions are made after that, you could see a period there where you see some genuine opportunities that arise from there as well.
Stability and consistency are helpful and good.
Yeah.
The alternative is paralysis, which is sort of what people think will be this election cycle in the US.
Yeah.
It'll just be the houses and the Senate and the White House will be separate enough where not a lot will get done.
Yeah.
I think of this as a bit of West and East. Like if you think of the UK, Europe, and the Western sort of capitalist democracy type.
Yeah.
There's a bigger frame going on there, and I sort of try to put it in that.
Yeah.
Not boil it down to any one or two countries, but it's probably more of Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, Eastern, Western, and then you get to more democratic or financial system setup.
Yeah.
Or government setup, and that's really, you almost have to start there now and come down, because between the Middle East, China, or Saudi, China, and the US, that's personally how I triangulate almost everything.
Yeah.
And then I bring it down, down to my home and my kids and my family, and then I move up to work.
Yeah.
And I pay attention to things. I'm not a optimist. Okay. I'm also not a pessimist. I think I'm a realist that chooses his moments to be cynical and pessimistic.
Yeah, okay.
But I do know that we will make it through this, like a lot of things, but the next thing will come pretty quickly after that, which is good.
And I think you used to, if you look at it back through time, there's 7-year cycles usually where it's there. I think this has become much more up and down and much more up and down.
So I'm a generational thinker, so I believe in 20-year generation cycles.
Okay.
And then 60 makes a big cycle because you have 3 generations to big change.
Yeah.
So AI, all these outcomes of shifts on the globe or technology shifts happen over like a millennial versus a boomer versus there's a lot of shifts that take, I would say, a generation of change for humans.
Yeah.
And usually need 20 to 40 years for big change.
I've been speaking to various people, and I think it was Mark Beeston who came on the show a couple of years ago, who talked about the concept of this generational opportunity of a collision of various different technologies all at the same time.
Yeah, the intersection,
so
convergence.
You look at digital assets and underlying blockchain technology. You look at cloud and its adoption since COVID at the same sort of stage. No, cloud's not a new thing. We look at AI that comes into it at the same sort of stage.
And distributed networks. So you need to get to distributed so that you can get to the house without a lot of power.
Exactly.
You need encryption. You need clouds.
Yeah.
You need mobility.
Yeah.
So there's 20 things converging now that are going to make this a super cycle of change for any one human.
Yeah.
But for a group of humans, they can actually create the wave or even ride it.
Yeah.
So alone, we're pretty much dead.
Yeah.
Together, as a fixed community, we can do quite a bit actually.
And that's what comes into it. So the themes I've had, and I've spoken to many people here today, and the community aspect of what everyone's talking about is the exciting part. I think, I've done 25 years in this space, and it was very much them and us, and I'm going to hide my homework from everyone else and all that sort of thing.
That's survival. It's good. It's a resource hoarding game.
We move much more into a collaborative play, right?
We must.
And there are, even around technology, from legacy enterprise technology to now fragmented technology with people there being able to say, right, I want to have the best of both. I've said this many times before, guided by how you use your mobile phone and interoperability and everything around that. It creates a lot of opportunity for people to be productive. When there's margins being eroded and pressure around everything, productivity's got to be key. And I think if we can have governments here and there that promote productivity, that allow people to be entrepreneurial in what they're looking for, that to me is
what people don't realize is friction is good, friction is energy. It's the air gaps that are the problem.
Yeah.
And those spaces are where your data is stolen, or we have too big a leap to make on we thought we had T+1 nailed, but there's a lot more manual than we knew, and the flash crash proved it, whatever that flash crash is. So I wrote a piece in 15 called "It's the Community Stupid," about blockchain, open source, and working more together as an industry. So I tried to be in front of people getting back to innovation after Dodd-Frank. And, there may be some truth, but it's not easy because most people want to earn and protect, and we have to work against that a little bit.
Well, I think if we look at that sort of last 5 to 10 years, I think you've probably seen more innovation in the space than any time other than
nothing like a bit of cloud and a pandemic.
Well, the original electronification of the markets was the big shift, right? And then the pandemic was the bit which lit the touch paper to have the, it was the, I think again, Mark, he's been on the show every year for about the last 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
but he spoke about it being the oil on the bonfire of innovation within the space, and or adoption of cloud in particular around that. So
we didn't use our mobile phones at all as an industry, and that was proven in the pandemic, and now we had a big issue with a lot of non-compliant chats happening on those WhatsApps. So now we have to back into what people just needed to do their job. But that's the catalyst that we all need sometimes to just innovate.
And the story that, with Cloud9 as for example, in
same story, different device, chats, phone, all converging in cloud, and it's all just going to be one feeder for the AI stream and one data loop that'll be T+0. It'll be real time.
So if you have one thing that you want people to take away from your conversation that you're about to have with Katie on the stage in a minute, what would be the message that you want to pass on to people from that?
Understand the big macro cycle well enough to not get decapitated, but pay attention to the next 2 weeks and the next quarter and what you're doing. And is it going somewhere meaningful or not? Boiling the ocean doesn't work. Ignoring the fact that there is an ocean is bad. You've got to do increments, but you've got to have a longer term view of where the world's going, at a leadership level or to build anything that's durable.
And let's talk Symphony as a whole to finish this all off. Tell me what's exciting about it. I know you've got big plans. We mentioned before that you are physically in the next door office to our office in Belfast, moved into the same but wonderful building. Some exciting things happening across the group.
No coincidence, it's just collisions, hashtag. That's one of my trending hashtags.
Tell me what's exciting for Symphony. What can we expect to see in 25 and beyond?
I think it's these partnerships that we can drive. We are never the entire workflow. We can be an alert up front and you never see us again, or we could be 3 hops of 20, or we could pop up as number 8. Like this idea that we can do a lot by doing some and require partnerships, and our tech stack had to evolve to something that could be easily embedded. Like that's hard physically, but now that ability to not say come here versus there's just a better way to do it inside the mall, the department store you're already in. If you want to carve up that department store into pieces over time, that's good too. So I think it's that partnerships, community, embedding in workflows, not breaking people's workflows, and then process change happens over a decade.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I'm looking forward to going and listening to it later on. Good luck with the conversation. Good luck with everything.
No hard questions, but I'm fine with those.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on the show, and thank you all for watching. We'll see you soon on the next episode of FinTech Focus TV.